everyone. I'm Allison Winston, CEO and founder of Kickwheel. What I'm going to share with you today is very simple. And in fact, so simple and straightforward that it could even be something we take for granted. Before I get started, I want to talk a little bit about who I am and why I'm here. My first career, yes, I'm old enough to have had two already, was in education as an educator. I was a high school teacher. I was a college professor. I had the unfortunate experience of teaching 10th grade for 2 of those years. And I worked with students from many different backgrounds. You can see some of the schools listed here where I taught full-time or adjuncted. And they're very diverse. Students from low-income backgrounds, students from incredibly privileged backgrounds. They all share something in common as learners. They all thrive, like us, when they're placed in a community. We know this. This is common sense. People tend to perform better when they have a clear community of like-minded people who they can communicate with regularly and reach out to when they're in the middle of stressful times. Kickwheel is a smart, closed social network for colleges, universities, and non-traditional learning communities. Currently, it's a mobile app available on Android and iOS, and exclusively mobile. I call us smart and closed very intentionally in this moment as we face Facebook data breaches and lots of controversy around how Facebook is used, not just for us as adults, but also for young people. We believe in using what's sticky about Facebook, about social networking, but using it to actually help students, to shift behavior in positive ways, because we have that responsibility. And I want to also start by talking about the fact that we protect student data beyond just FERPA compliance. We believe that as educators and as a society, we have a responsibility to do that. I'm going to dig into features a little bit in more detail. They're pretty straightforward, so I want to frame them for you with values that are driving them and justifying them. We all know that Generation Z has many different expectations from prior generations. And I believe that they're changing the business of college. I think there's a lot of people here who agree with that and whose work is grounded in that belief as well. They're incredibly values-driven. We know from the last few weeks in particular with the gun debate that they're vocal. They demand attention, they want to be heard, they're frankly tired of BS. They have incredible BS filters, and they want to be connected. This translates to how they think about college and what they expect from colleges in terms of providing service, providing an education. And that's actually going to be really challenging for us. It already is. They are authentic and they're anti-brand. They trust individuals more than they trust organizations. They're also incredibly diverse. We already know that in many schools, 50% or more of the students coming into the entering freshman class are students who don't identify as white, who come from historically underrepresented backgrounds, low incomes, first in their family to go to college. This means that the way colleges were organized originally, primarily to serve white privileged men, needs to be disrupted. We all know that. We're all here to do that work. And I think in some ways it's actually easier than we give it credit. We know that we're not graduating students on time in most cases. We all want to solve that. And we can solve it by creating better support and community. There are financial aid problems. There are technology problems. There are basic needs problems. All of these, lots of us are solving together. But one thing that's very easy to solve that we know from private industry is service. We know we can serve students better, and one way we can do that is by putting all the things that they need, especially each other, into a mobile community. This data you may not be familiar with because a lot of the data that we look at about college attrition actually identifies financial strain as one of the major reasons for dropout. But this study is really interesting from the Educational Policy Institute because it actually says that poor service and a lack of care are what cause students to leave. And their belief is that it's later that students decide that there's a financial problem. they realize that they're not getting the value for their education and they can no longer justify the financial spend, and that's where that financial excuse or explanation comes in. So again, support, and thinking about Generation Z's particularly unique needs. We also know, as I started with, that community leads to outcomes. So enter Kickwheel. We're a Facebook alternative. Of course, the Facebook's free, and we know what we're really paying with when we send our students there. Schools sign up, colleges, universities, and non-traditional learning communities sign up with Kickwheel. It provides secure, private, compliant space to do direct and group messaging, to discover and explore the entire campus community, to filter students by interest, by major, et cetera. It also has really great predictive enrollment analytics. And most importantly, and I think that this is actually a really unique intervention, it looks and feels like the consumer app that students are used to. We want to harness Instagram and Snapchat as much as possible, not compete with them. And we believe that by harnessing them and working nicely with those apps without using student data in the ways that some of them may do, we can actually attract and support this generation more effectively. We have some incredible partners, including Claremont McKenna and Colgate. So this isn't about schools who are struggling with retention. It's institutions who want to provide a premium experience, who recognize that human beings want to connect with each other and benefit from doing that. And in fact, when I shared this with my little brother, who is 19, his face turned white when he saw the app for the first time. And I thought I had done something wrong. And instead, he said, "All I can say to you is hurry. This is so obvious and so needed where I go to school. We need to be able to connect in this way, and it makes perfect sense." So I'd love to talk with any of you in more detail while I'm here. My email address is very easy, Allison@Kickwheel. Thank you very much for having me.